You know, Halloween is tomorrow. And you know what the Packers could dress up as? A team with a winning record. Welcome, Packer fans, to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews. This is my completely scattered, unorganized thoughts on the Packers versus Bills game. That's right, the Packers just lost to the Buffalo Bills 27-17 on Sunday Night Football. Yeah, too damn late for this. But the Packers ultimately fall to 3-5. You know, after the Giants, the Jets, Commanders games, I found myself just frustrated, even angry, striving to find the positives, and I'm not struggling as much after this one. I will say right off the bat, Elton Jenkins with his unexpected miss, I played a big part, and I'm going to get to Zach Tom shortly, but not having him at left guard against Ed Oliver and Settle and the bigs of the Buffalo defensive line impacted this game. For sure, it did. Zach Tom, we've seen be highly competent at tackle, filling in for Bakhtiari last week when he did have a lot of help, admittedly. But him being guard and getting pushed back routinely definitely affected this game. So first and foremost, Elton Jenkins, an unexpected miss. You hope his knee just acted up, that this isn't a long-standing Bakhtiari situation. These big guys coming back from ACL injuries, it's always touch and go. And Elton at times has not looked like himself. He doesn't have the lateral quickness that we've seen him have in the past since coming back from his ACL injury. And now you just hope this isn't something more. You hope it's just a one-game anomaly and the guy just needed a day off. Because certainly for the sake of the Packer offensive line, they could use it. Now, the other thing that I'm going to get to right off the bat before I dive into more structured thoughts, I said that this game was either going to be a blowout for the Bills because the Packers are going to play how they played over the last 3 weeks, or the Packers may squeak out a win. And you know, my last video, it became my most watched video, which I'm incredibly proud of. And I think it's because it wound up in the feeds of so many Bills fans. Wow. Which was wonderful. If you're new around here, welcome. If this is your very first time checking out a video, thanks for checking it out. I give all the stuff around the Packers 3 or 4 times a week, and here we have yet another Packer loss. So, you know, I said it's either going to be that they're going to squeak out a win because they just figure it out, or they're going to get blown out. And I was wrong. It wound up being, I don't want to say a close loss, but this didn't feel like an absolute massacre either. And I think that's what a lot of Packer fans were afraid of. I think that's what a lot of even Bills fans were predicting, especially given some of the comments on my last video, that the Bills would just steamroll the Packers. And there were times in this game that went that way. For sure. I'm not denying that. The Bills are one hell of a football team. And I talked about that quite a bit on Friday. In my opinion, this is the best team in the National Football League. I know the Eagles have a slightly better record than them. I know there's other teams that are, but the Bills are the best team in the NFL. And you saw why tonight. But you also see why there is some reason for encouragement for the Green Bay Packers. Now, there were lots of people saying that after the Giants game, after the Jets game, after the Commanders. They're so close to clicking. They're just so close. I didn't see it. I saw a team in turmoil with no passion, no heart, that was more frustrated than anything. Tonight, I see it. And for the sake of the Packers' rest of the season, you hope it's not too little too late. But there are some positives to take away. I do believe that. Now, The Bills absolutely, unequivocally earned this win. I do think in the second half of this game, when the Packers were playing well, there was a little bit of the Bills kind of saying, we don't have to try that hard. We're better than them and we know it. Packers have been in that situation before, and they've just rolled over and died. They didn't die tonight. They didn't do the thing where, they get punched in the mouth and then they just stop playing football. Every single Packer fan watching this video knows exactly what I'm talking about. They hung with it. They fought. And that's more than we can say about this Packer team, the 2022 Packers, than we could at most points throughout the entire season thus far. This team has not been a team filled with passion or heart or grit or whatever word you want to use that describes that thing that we all know what we're talking about. But tonight, they had it. And God forbid I even say the offense looked like it was having fun. At times. For the first time in a long time. Now, I want to revisit the 4 things. I did say in the last video that there were going to be 4 things that the Packers were going to have to do if they stood even a chance to beat the Bills. Number 1 was limit the big play. Okay, the Bills did get some big plays tonight. No doubt about it. I also said an important ingredient in limiting that big play was potentially using Quay Walker as a spy on Josh Allen. Quay, the hell you doing? Earlier in the game, Quay Walker pushing a practice squad member of the Bills, I think is what was eventually said in the telecast. Either way, dumb. Dumb. It's just not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. And I can tell Quay thought that, it looked like on the film that the dude was just trying to help him up. But I think Quay thought that he was getting pushed from the guy, so Quay felt like he was pushing back. I don't know. Stupid. And it affected the defensive game plan. Because then all of a sudden, right after that, you had Devondre Campbell leave hurt. And all of a sudden, you've got Isaiah McDuffie and brand new Eric Wilson. And they're not spying Josh Allen. Like, that was going to be a tall order for Quay Walker and all of his athleticism. You think McDuffie's going to do it? No way in hell. Stupid. So the Packers, while they did overall limit the big play, this wasn't a 6-touchdown game from Josh Allen. This wasn't repeated 65 or 80-yard touchdowns to Gabe Davis. The Packers did minimize a lot of that. Now, Stephon Diggs still got over 100 yards receiving. Devin Singletary had his share of 20-yard runs. But the Packers, I would not say in this game, were not destroyed by the big play. I'm not saying by any means, don't click off of this video because you think you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying by any means that the defense played well. I'm just saying in this particular topic of limiting the big play, you could make the argument that for the most part, they did. Now, moving on to the next thing, the Packers had to control the time of possession. For the vast majority of this game, they did. Now, there were still a couple alarming things. This is more so at the tail end of the first half. Buffalo was able to score with ease way too quickly. Sure, you can win time of possession all you want. But if the opposing offense can do 80 yards in 3 plays and do it in 14 seconds, you're not going to win even if you control the time of possession. And the Packers fell victim to that tonight. Now, I will say a key part of controlling time of possession is running the ball. And I'll be gosh darn, did you see those beautiful drives where Aaron Jones just kept on getting the ball? And A.J. Dillon actually broke a couple tackles this week? It's like it works. And then after you had some success with it, all of a sudden, they started, Rodgers scrambled once. They actually called the play for Rodgers to roll out, which we haven't seen, it feels like it forever. All of a sudden, that Rodgers ripping it down the field to Samori Toure, ripping it down the field to Romeo Doubs. These are the necessary components of the Green Bay offense. And it all ties back to time of possession. And tonight, I know it's a loss, but look, they called a closer offensive game plan than I have been happy with, than they've done at basically any freaking point this year. So I'm going to take it. Because this is your Green Bay Packers. Run the ball. Get the ball to the running backs. Use the quick passes. And I'll use that to open up the deep ball, not the other way around. That is how you can be successful. Now, if they would have shown the offense that they did tonight against some of the teams that they lost to earlier in the season, the Commanders, the Jets, the Giants specifically, they stand much better chances to win those games too. I don't know why it took them this long. Number 3, I said they have to utilize Christian Watson, and they can't just be in these jet around, sweep around motion, whatever's. It's got to be actually having him run routes like a wide receiver. And they did. In the first quarter, they did. And then he gets hurt. Is it frustrating to see Christian Watson have another injury? Yes, absolutely. Unequivocally, it is. I get it 100%. I, as a human being, will never fault another human being, especially a football player, for getting a concussion. And trust me, I saw plenty of it on the social media channels calling out Christian Watson for being made of glass. The dude had a concussion. This is not a toughness thing. You can't just get a concussion and then shake it off and come running back in. None of that is how this works anymore. He got a concussion. He's out of the game. Now, did that change some of what they wanted to do on offense? Yeah, it probably did. And frankly, it might have changed it for the better, considering that they finally arrived to an offensive game plan that everyone wanted. Now to bring Watson into the offense that they wound up in the second half, that could see some exciting things. Certainly hoping the best for Christian Watson, hoping he comes back soon. Point number 4, they had to not be predictable. And there were times in this game where they weren't predictable. Defensively, they were. I am not saying that the defense had a good game. I'm not. Joe Barry's crew took a significant step back tonight. Ultimately, yeah, I look at Josh Allen's stat sheet, and it's not a Josh Allen-esque stat sheet. He did not burn them for 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did not have a 107 QB rating. But still, that unit took a step back today. You know, the last couple of weeks have been encouraging for the defense and frustrating for the offense, and tonight, total flip. Unbelievably frustrating on the defense. Darnell Savage, Eric Stokes, what in the hell are you doing? Several players missing tackles and just not even trying to tackle. Tackle's too strong of a word. When Joe Barry first came in, he was going to preach tackling and wrapping up and all these. They don't do it. No. Darnell Savage and Eric Stokes just take their shoulders and just and then hope for the best. They both need to figure out how to tackle and how to play football. But from an offensive standpoint, there were times tonight where they did not fall into the exact same patterns that we have seen from them again and again. And again, that's encouraging. So hey, out of the 4 things they had to do to win the game, they accomplished a bunch, but let's look at why they lost. Well, one, it just wasn't enough of those things. Quay Walker getting booted was a big deal. Christian Watson getting injured was a big deal. Robert Tunyon's offensive pass interference. However you feel about that call, whether it was a good call, whether it was a bad call, I don't give a crap. I'm not going to blame the ref game. I'm not going to do that game. But there is no denying that it certainly changed the game. No doubt about that. You know, and then other penalties throughout the course of the game. It is what it is. You can't control the refs. So why did they lose the game? Quay Walker, still offensive deficiencies. Offensive line, it wasn't as bad as it's been at times this season. It wasn't great. It just wasn't. It got beat a lot, specifically Zach Tom in his first start at left guard. He got just bullied a lot. Josh Nijman had a rough game, which is to be expected against Von Miller, but strategically they didn't give him a ton of help either. Now, David Bakhtiari versus Von Miller, that's what you call a fair fight. And Bakhtiari did do pretty well on the whole. I thought Josh Myers also played pretty well okay. John Runyon Jr., he didn't necessarily stand out in any negative way just from watching on the telecast. I would put this on Yash and Zach Tom being the truly deficient 2 of the 5. We'll see if on a rewatch if that actually holds true. So, who are the game balls? Let's go to the positive first. The game balls, the positive, that's going to be Aaron Jones. My goodness. My goodness, Aaron Jones. You are everything the Packers should be, and you should be running the offense. Number 2, Romeo Doubs, because he finally made a couple of those catches that we saw in preseason. When he had all of this hype, when he was Romeo Doubs, future Hall of Famer for the Green Bay Packers, and a must-pick-up in fantasy nationwide, and all this stuff, he was making all these tough contested catches. And then all of a sudden, in the first 7 weeks of the season, it just stopped. That there would be contact, and he wouldn't hang on, he had to drop. Tonight, he made some of those difficult catches. Beautiful. That's what we needed to start seeing from him. And then I'm also going to give a game ball to Jair Alexander. He played with fire tonight. And I'm going to be interested on the rewatch tomorrow morning to see, did he get beat a bunch? I don't think so, just from the watch tonight. But ultimately, he played like a leader tonight. And I loved to see it. Now, who gets the lame calls? Quay Walker. Yeah. Darnell Savage. Eric Stokes. Both of you. What? Eric Stokes was benched for a portion of this game. Keyshawn Nixon took some of his snaps. And this very much falls in line with the, hey, if they're not playing well, take them out thing. Okay, fine. When does that apply to Darnell Savage exactly? I didn't see him lose any snaps to Rudy Ford. Ford, who played pretty well in Amos's stead a couple weeks ago when Amos had the concussion. You cannot convince me right now that Darnell Savage is part of your best solution for defense. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if it's repairable. But it is bad right now. Just straight bad. And they need to rectify that. Last lame call, and I kind of hate to do this one, but Zach Tom. Zach Tom just got beat tonight. We have been saying that Zach Tom has played pretty well, but one of his downfalls is he needs to add play strength. And boy, did that show up against Ed Oliver and Settle and these other Bill pass rushers. So there you have it. Green Bay Packers fall to 3-5. Ultimately, it's a loss, and frankly, it's a loss that I feel better about than other losses that they've had in recent weeks. And you can call me an idiot. You can call me a homer. I don't really care. This is how I feel, and that's what this is for. So, I will be back tomorrow after rewatching the game in the morning. I'm going to give you my reaction following the rewatch, and then it's on to the Lions, because Packers-Lions should be a fun game at this point. So, let me know your thoughts on the game down below. I'll try to get to some of them tomorrow morning and answer some of the comment. Hope you enjoyed tonight's game. Hope you enjoy next week. Hope you have a great night tonight. And as always, go Pack Go.